What's going on, everyone? I'm an addict. My name is Steve.
Hey, Steve.
My clean date is February 14th, 2011. My home group is the Serenity Group. We meet on Friday nights at 10 o'clock on Frankstown Road in Penn Hills. Yeah, a little nervous. When he was introduced to me, I thought I'd be the third speaker, so I was going to give myself 20 more minutes of praying and allowing myself, asking God to set me aside so He can use me as He sees fit, right? And it was crazy. Phil called me up and asked me about this, and I was real grateful because, I remember reading it in the end of the second step in the step working guide. But what it says is freedom from the blind pursuit of our insanity. You know what I mean? And I'm okay, I can relate to that because I don't know how many. I started going, listen, I'm blind. I started losing my sight around 15 years old. I started not to be able to see at night anymore. And by this time, drugs already had worked for me. They took away it. I don't think everyone knows what it is. You know what I mean? It gave me some hope, man. It gave me freedom, took away my boredom. It gave me something to do. It just was everything. I like drugs, right? I wouldn't be here right now if they didn't work effectively in the beginning. And so what happened was I started losing my sight at 15, and I went to a doctor in Philadelphia, and they told me that eventually I was going to be blind one day, right? And it didn't matter what they said to me because I was already had a solution to life, and it couldn't affect me because drugs already worked. I already had a solution, right? My solution was getting more, whatever that was. If it was, smoking weed, drinking, whatever, you name it. And eventually my addiction, the insanity of my disease, took me to some homelessness in Washington County, and thank God for that because there was nowhere to go but up. You know what I mean? The disease of addiction broke me in half, and I had enough pain to get clean. This looked like a good idea to me. You know what I mean? Not using the day at a time and working the program of recovery. And I'd hear predecessors talk about working steps and feeling happy and this feeling inside of wholeness. And everybody would talk about what God did for them, and I was just so part. A speaker this morning said that I just was different than you, separate. You know what I mean? I'm set aside as a distinct entity from the whole at all times. My disease wants me separate from you, and every lie I told myself pushed me a little further away, kept me a little more isolated, a little more alone, and a little more scared. And I had no power to tell you what was really going on with me because if I told you what was going on with me, I'd be a chump. You understand that? I couldn't get honest. I was powerless over my honesty. And that's crazy, man. I needed a power greater than myself to practice these principles. All right, so that insanity that was supposed to be a scary thing, and my life was supposed to be, it didn't really even sink in what was really going on with me. All I know was getting high felt good, and I chased that get high until it quit working. And then when it quit working, I'm broke, busted, disgusted, isolated, and separated even more, right, without a solution. And my only way out was suicide. Because this deal wasn't going to work for me. Going to meetings and trusting people and meeting new friends and leaving Verona wasn't going to be cool. Right? I just couldn't leave the place I grew up in, but then again, I couldn't stay clean there, and I was in this situation and conflict, and man, I was broken in half enough for God to enter my heart, and getting clean was a good idea. That's just the bottom line. I did go to some treatment centers, and and one, my sponsor called it the Dope Fiend Limousine, dude. I met him off the bus going to a meeting, and some real powerful stuff happened. God started moving, but what I learned from that sponsor at that time is there's no such thing as coincidences. It's all God's way of remaining anonymous. And I started following these coincidences that really weren't coincidences that were taking me to a different place in my life because I was so afraid of doing anything but getting high. I didn't know how to do anything else, and I'm so scared of being the newcomer. I'm so scared of admitting that I don't know. And, I'm a sufferer from contempt, and that's just the way it is. A real cool story about this conference right here. My first conference here, it was 2010. I probably had about 90 days, and I was sitting out front on the steps out here, and I'm smoking cigarettes, and I had 90 days, so you knew I knew everything, right? And I'm listening to the book, and I know little quips and slogans, and I'm sitting next to a guy who's sharing his time with me, and I'm telling him how to stay clean. Because like this dude had something, I don't know if he was, I thought he was high, and that's the bottom line, because he was talking to me, he was being nice to me, and I was like, he wants something. That's all there is to it, right? And he came in, and he's like, can I help you to a table? He walked me over to a table, we sat down, he got me a plate of spaghetti, and he sat with me. And then they started talking about how they didn't have enough money to buy this dude a plane ticket to come here from Corpus Christi, Texas, but he rode a bus for 44 hours to come here and give a lead. And I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool, that's a pretty honorable thing. And when they called Jimmy up, he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, Steve, I love you, I'll be right back. And my mind was blown. I thought this dude was high, right? And like, I was just telling him how to stay clean, right? Crazy. My mind is just insane. We blew my mind that day, dude, and we stayed friends ever since. And he, yeah, man, he was someone, because like I came in and out, and my first clean day wasn't February 14th. It was like, my first meeting, I was 19 years old, and I came back when I was 26 in May, and it didn't stick with me until 2011 February, and so like I had thought it was a really great idea to stop using one day. I just wasn't done yet, you know what I mean? The pain wasn't great enough, and that's my belief system in that. I know that you could choose to whatever, but like pain brought me into here, and that's the truth. And so yeah, man. And then like just recently, I reached out to him trying to change some things in my program, and he told me about a guy that was here, in 2010, another blind gentleman, right? And he's like, maybe you should give him a call. He might be able to do something for you. And that guy became a sponsor of mine, and we've been talking. It's been a blessing, man. It kicked me hope, you know what I mean? And it's crazy. But like when I came into 2010, no matter what, man, I got a sponsor, I got a home group. No matter what, I worked steps. You know what I mean? No matter what, I started to maintain and build a relationship with a power that I didn't know existed. And I didn't have to use that little cop out. I was like, oh, I can't see him, right? Like, I just did it. You know what I mean? I didn't have to. I knew that like everyone, and it's something I didn't know the difference. I didn't know the difference between happiness and pleasure my whole life. I confused the two. I know today that happiness is something that comes from inside of me. And as I'm working steps, it sets aside the bondage itself enough for happiness to occur, right? And I have a connection with you and in the universe, right? But I can get pleasure from like outside things. And like that usually, if you're an addict like me, all the pleasures in my life usually drove me to the gates of hell and insanity. And I'm sure there's a responsible way to use all this stuff, and I'm learning how to do that. But my willingness, man, like when I came into this program, dude, like I knew that there was a different way, and so I separated myself from people, places, and things. In the beginning of my recovery, man, I was so afraid. I didn't know that I could have fun without the mental obsession returning and it dragging me by my face to the first one, right? That's my experience with the mental obsession. When the mental obsession came on me, it dragged me by my face to the first one. I took it, right? And I couldn't stop, no matter what. And, man, it's a different way of life today. You know what I mean? And now I know today that there's really not a person, place, or thing on the face of the planet that can keep me away from coming to meetings, that can keep me away from working steps, and keep me away from growing and maintaining a relationship with a power greater than myself other than me. Right? And I can't sit back and really make a knowledgeable decision or choice. I don't know, like everyone, man, that's so confusing when I came in about choices. Everyone's like, you can choose to do different things. And I'm like, how? You know what I mean? How do you choose? How do I let go? How to teach me? You know what I mean? It kind of reminded me of like Luke when he was trying to learn how to use the Force, right? He just had to do it. It had to be an intuitive thing. And like my actions today and my choices today reside in my feet. They have nothing to do with a mental decision I have. They have everything to do with an action that I take. And it's usually despite the way I feel, because how I feel sometimes doesn't correlate with what needs to be done in my recovery. Sometimes I like to rest on my laurels and give in to defects of character and not make those amends and cut up and do some things. But like that's all well and good and has its time and its place. But when the rubber meets the road and I'm on the edge of insanity and death, like it's recovery needs to take place, and that's what happened to me 7 years ago. But I didn't have anything for it. But you guys had what I needed. In the way of recovery is a way of being spiritually awoke people and mindful of what your disease did to you, so you could share with me and I could make the dot, connect those dots to see what was going on, right? And man, it's been a beautiful adventure. It's been an awesome journey so far, right? Like having a solution to my problems today. Stuff that used to absolutely boggle my mind, like waking up on time and going to a doctor's office and actually sitting in the waiting room. You know what I mean? I wasn't able to sit in the waiting room. I paced like a bull. Crazy. Right? I didn't know what patience was. I remember having to call. This is real quick stuff. They called the cops on me one time because I was in the doctor's office waiting for the doctor to refill my scripts or do whatever he was doing, but it wasn't happening quick enough. You know what I mean? And like, I'm insane. Sitting in the waiting room. That's what you're supposed to do. They actually call it a waiting room, and I don't know how to wait. And, you guys taught me. You know what I mean? You taught me how to be still. You taught me how to allow. I was always really, really emotionally driven, and I'm learning how to be spiritually guided, and it's a big deal for me. To allow things to happen instead of me trying to choke them. You know what I mean? Choke acceptance into myself. Make other people understand where I'm coming from. All that stuff, man. And I'm learning how to love unconditionally. And that's what I want in my life. I never knew that that's what I wanted, right? And it's cool, man. It's a new way of living. You know what I mean? When I learned how to, set aside, ask God to set me aside enough so He can work through me, right? Take my will in my life and just show me how to live, because I don't know sometimes. You know what I mean? What up? Okay. Yeah, dude, we're cool, man. I have a relationship with God. He would have shut me up, trust me. So anyway, thank you very much. You know what? I'm grateful to be here, man. I'm grateful to meet the people. I'm glad I met the people that God put in my life, and I was open enough to receive some friendship and some love from them, because I started building relationships that, mean the world to me. And I'm here with my friend Greg and Russell, and Russell on Tuesday celebrated 3 years clean, which is pretty powerful, because I remember when that dude slept on a pile of dirty clothes in my bedroom. And it was just nowhere else to go, you know what I mean? And man, I'm really grateful that I'm here today, and I'm glad that I got asked to come up here and share a little bit of my experience on how things work in my life, and realizing the perception is a very powerful thing, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like how I think, some sights developed and some visions developed in this program is through my perceptions, and the perception changes that I get is working the steps and applying them in my life. Because with the application comes the true understanding of principles to me, right? I thought humility was like just sit there and don't say nothing. You know what I mean? I learned today that when I stand in the face of fear and I come through the other side of it, man, I become a more humble man. And when I ask God, when I can have enough, this little bit inside of me that says, God, I don't know what I'm doing. Would you please show me what the next right thing is to do, man? That's showing humility, right? That's what the second step talks about, And me and Greg, we were talking about it earlier today. I can make a good decision, right? But I can't do it consistently, you know what I mean? So having you people in my life is a must. Help me make good decisions on a daily basis, because I'm insane, And that insanity, that soundness of mind that our second step talks about is something I try to achieve on a daily basis, man. And that's what I want in my life. I want peace and happiness and, some joy. And being able to share that with others, man, is where the good stuff's at, And I'm going to continue on coming back. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
All right.